The Not a Golf podcast may contain language not suitable for some listeners. If you choose to drink and listen, please enjoy responsibly and not while driving, chipping, or putting. During testing of this podcast, brain cramps were experienced by some trial listeners, most commonly in those with little to no sense of humor and those wearing white Sansbelt slacks. Results may vary. Listener discretion is advised.
Folks, we want to welcome you to the 10th episode of the Not a Golf podcast. That's season 2, episode 3, if I'm correct. My name is Jay. I'm here as usual with the beautiful Becca Button, Shorty Dog. We got Stinky sitting next to us as well. Stinky just went through an emergency appendectomy less than 48 hours ago. So, yeah, he's kicking ass now. Doing well, recovering well. Of course, we took a good gut shot today by Tennessee, but we'll get into that later. We are joined by Bill the Minerals Inc. from Anchorage, Alaska, Mr. America himself, Donnie B., and then, of course, our chef, Chef Will Regret It, coming in still from Caddy's Whiskey Tavern. Chef, we haven't made it to Caddy's Whiskey Tavern. We haven't been there in quite some time. How are things holding down there?
Well, the profits are down now that you're not here drinking.
Are the bottle nights? Are the bottle nights that Becca and the Not a Golf podcast was there? Was popping bottles, I think, is what the kids say now. Am I right?
It's amazing. We went through cases and cases of whiskey when you were in the room, and now it's a bottle a night.
I think cases and cases is a little exaggerant, Chef. Before we get started, don't forget, folks, you can download, subscribe, share wherever you watch or listen to our show. And, of course, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Not a Golf Pod. Tonight's show, we have the Minerals Minute, pick'ems as usual. We'll recap the last couple of weeks in football, as we like to do here. I want to talk a little bit about playoffs in our sports segment, too, kind of bring up some things here. I know it's soon to talk about football playoffs, but my questions don't really have anything to do with the teams in the playoffs. It's the playoffs themselves, kind of how they're structured. And then later, we're going to be joined by a surprise special guest. We're going to dive into a very interesting character. Nobody, not even Buttons, knows who this guest is. We all know the guest, but Buttons, the Mineral, Donnie B, does not know who that guest is. So let's roll into the show. Donnie B, what you drinking? What you thinking?
I'm on my Long Island tea, and I'm thinking I need to go to Walmart's clearance section and find me a Gator defense.
A Gator defense in the Walmart clearance section. I'm not sure. I would try Dollar General first. So anyhow, Bill's Inc., the Mineral. What you drinking? What you thinking?
Well, I just finished my glass of sweet tea. I need to go refill it. And I'm thinking more people need to stop driving 5-10 miles under the speed limit for no reason. That shit is just so fucking annoying, man, when I'm trying to go somewhere.
I got that. We don't want to go
Like, just
there. That's a
big ass 45 sign right in front of your face when you pass it and you're going 35. Come on.
It's worse when you're passing someone on the interstate. It's worse where you have 3 lanes and you have someone doing 70 or 69 passing someone doing 68. Right, that's the most aggravating.
And
Like
when
you
it's
can
just
seriously
two
wait till
lanes and
all
it's,
this traffic
one
goes by.
each.
Anyhow,
Yeah, but when it's
let me.
one lane each and shit, the 2 lane ribbon.
I know asking Chef Will what you drinking is probably arbitrary, but anyhow, it is part of the show. What you drinking? What you thinking, Chef?
Well, of course I'm drinking. I'm having a beautiful Citation Pinot Noir 2014, a little glass of Gentleman Jack, and a Yingling, America's oldest continually operated brewery. What am I thinking? Oh, I think a lot. But today I was doing a demo, and I wonder, do people actually think before they come up and try a sample? Ask what it is. Guy got mad at me. He came over, he threw something in his mouth, and then he asked what it was. It was ham. And he yelled at me that he doesn't eat pork. Not my fault, sir. Not my fault.
Oh man, we are just hitting.
Trying some new menu options at the Caddies, and he gets mad at me.
We are just hammering the ignorant today, which they deserve it. Buttons, it's on you. What you drinking? What you thinking?
Sweet tea and not thinking much of nothing. Living on my dog though.
She is having the mineral special sweet tea, and she's thinking she's loving on Shorty Dog, and that's a common thought around here, believe it or not. I am taking a little different path today. I got Modelo beer, and I am thinking that everybody did the what you thinking, nailed it this time. Wonderful job, guys. Round of applause all the way. So, what did all of you think about our last show with our guest Jeff Danner? Donnie, you were watching football. We were watching your foot wave and your camera watching football.
Very impressive. Had great things to say about you, and you had great things to say about him. And I hope y'all build on that relationship. I'd like to see you take it somewhere.
He's definitely put me in some great places, put me in front of great people and great opportunities. So thanks, Donnie, for that. That was cool. Thank you to Jeff again for coming on and doing that and for saying those things. That really meant a lot to us. Bill, you know Jeff. You've met Jeff. You've had opportunity to kind of, work with the three of us together. The three of us have worked together. What did you think about? Did you know a lot? Did we give you any new news about Jeff in the last episode? Anything that you learned about Jeff that you didn't know?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of his personal shit, like.
Well, of course, the personal shit.
Yeah. I didn't know. I mean, a lot of the things I kind of like overheard and stuff, but like the being part of both architect academies and stuff, but yeah, I mean, there was some stuff I didn't know that I learned. And
good.
I just want to say that that commercial you found was fucking hilarious.
Was it? Y'all like that?
That shit was great.
Yeah. And
at first, I totally forgot it was something you put in. I swear to God, when I was driving, I thought it was like, I was like, what's this commercial? Like, and then I was like, oh wait, he put this in there, and then I was like, yeah, this. They had me pulled there from. That was good shit.
But they did a great job with that. That's kind of the thing we're looking for here on the show. That little comedy relief, and that brings us to Chef Will. Chef Will, not the golfer at all. But however,
I've watched one hole.
You watched one hole, and you went back and listened. You had to leave us before our guest, but you went back and listened, obviously, to the interview. Any thoughts? Do you care?
Of course I care. I love all of you people and your guests. I'm amazed, honestly, that anyone would come on as a guest on this podcast, not a golf podcast. And the caliber of guests, Mr. Smith, that you have secured is beyond belief.
Chef has never spoke truer words than he did just then. That was
all of my words are true.
All your words are true. Buttons, kind of quiet so far. You've met Jeff. We actually spent a couple dinners. Had a couple
Yeah, I
dinners
fed
with
him
Jeff.
burnt asparagus.
Did you hear that, Chef Will?
Just burnt asparagus. There wasn't a piece of chicken or a
Oh yes,
potato
yes, there was
or.
other things. The burnt asparagus sticks to mind. I don't remember what did we have with it. I don't remember now.
I don't remember.
I just remember the burnt asparagus.
It was memorable.
I
It wasn't really
understand.
like burnt. I just left it in there too long, so it was a little shrivelly.
We did have dinner with him another night at a place there in Anchorage, and Bill, you're gonna have to help me with this, but it's the chef that was there at the club. He has the two sons that work with you, and he owns the restaurant, the Italian restaurant.
Yeah, I know the dude and the name. I just can't
Pierre
figure.
or something like that. Anyhow, that's where we'd had dinner with Jeff there one night, and that was a pleasant night. But anyhow, yeah, I love Jeff to death, and he's very good at separating, professionalism from personal, and I learned a lot, believe it or not, just about his personal character, throughout the show. So that was great to have him on. Jeff, we thank you for coming. We are going to give you a little bit of shit coming up here later in the show. I think you know why. But before I get any further, let's talk about our fantasy football and kind of where everybody stands now. What we're going into. I think now we're going into our third game starting, which started Thursday night. Tomorrow, Sunday, and Monday. So we got this week we have the Mineral, who is currently 1-1. He's a 1.9 point favorite versus Kenny Dukes. Kenny Dukes making an appearance here. He's the McAlpin Dukes in our fantasy football. Shout out to Kenny, not just friend of the show, family of the show, like a brother to me. And if he's listening, I appreciate him for listening. We got Buttons, who's also 1-1. She's a 25-point underdog to another friend of the pod, Jacob Hart, who is also 1-1. I think he's the Bradford Bogies. Chef Will, also 1-1. He's a 13.8 favorite versus Jason Eyes, J Money, who is actually 2-0 right now. But Chef Will has almost a 14-point, almost a 2-touchdown favor there. Donnie B and Jay are facing off this week, and I don't know. I was kind of looking at your roster, Donnie. You could definitely tell that you weren't focused on the draft, that being during the show.
No,
you are currently a 48.9 underdog.
I have no clue. I've never done this. I have no clue what I was doing, much less having a chance to pick. And I can't stand the Oakland Raiders, and that's my defense. What the heck?
You could swap it out and pick up a different one. You could drop them and pick up a new one.
So
I need to know how this works because I have no clue. I have no clue.
Well, I'll give you a rundown Tuesday of how it works. Anyhow, both of us are 0-2 right now in the standings. So one of us is going 0-3, and Donnie, I just want to go ahead and say thank you. Well, I can go ahead and pick up my first win because that's if I don't, I'll probably give up as well. Anyhow, we have a few guys that are 2-0 that are right now 2-0 and looking good going into the third. That'd be Cameron Watts, Jason J Money up in Anchorage, and Justin Carlton. All three currently 2-0. Donnie, we know you're not really, you don't know it too much. You're not putting a lot of thought into it. But Bill, what are your thoughts on fantasy right now? You've been in a couple very close matchups, like very close, and right now you're not even a 2-point favorite right now.
A couple different things I should have won. I am trying. Because I have a league that I play for money, and so I check that league, and I'm very serious with that league. So when I do that league, I always just check all my other leagues. So I do pay attention to it and check it. And I think last week, if I'm not mistaken, if I would have just made a couple different switches, I think I probably would have won. But
I remember checking it at
it's
one
still
point.
early. I've been like last year in my money league, I was 0-4 and made the Super Bowl. So,
oh wow,
it's early.
Well, last week I remember checking it, and and this was at like 2:00 on the East Coast, 2:30 on the East Coast, and you were still at a 50-50 matchup with whoever it was.
Yeah.
Was it Donnie? Was it Donnie B? May have been Donnie B.
No, Donnie had.
It was a week before.
I think Donnie was week 1. Me and Donnie were week 1.
That's right.
Yeah, I could go defeated all year and have no clue.
Fully defeated. Hey, we might need to do a prize for if someone like a
See, you have
if you go fully defeated.
Yeah, you had Buttons there. She was, a little on the hammered side, and she kept on saying, "It's your pick," and I had no clue. I had no clue what we were doing. None.
I didn't either. I've never done it before either.
I mean, Shane Matthews
and
is
I was
on.
drunk.
Yeah, we're interviewing Shane Matthews, and it keeps going da 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 da.
Hey, I warned him what he was coming into, and like Chef Will says, it's a wonder that some of these people are even rolling in. And anyhow,
if he goes unwon the entire season, couldn't you give him a Lions trophy? Aren't they the only team in NFL history to never win a game in a season?
I think you're right. They are the only team. Yeah, I think he's right.
No, because the Bucks did a season where they didn't win back when they had the creamsicle uniform.
Oh, those are bad.
Jacksonville.
Yeah, when the Bucks had the creamsicle, they won I think they lost I think Jacksonville did too. There's been a couple teams that I think went defeated.
Here's an interesting, and I guess I should wait till I have the stats for that. But there's only 4 teams in the NFL who have never made it to a Super Bowl. And none of them.
It
the
says
Lions are one.
Cleveland Browns
Jacksonville.
in 2017 didn't win no game at all.
But yeah, the Cleveland Browns in 2017.
The Lions was 2008, so that's the next
Lions
one.
in 2008.
Thank you, Buttons.
You're welcome.
Buttons.
I had one stat, and she had to go and ruin it.
Buttons and the mineral are our statisticians. Quick to look it up. I just want to run into a quick break, folks.
Hey, before you get a break, Chef will tell you who's the only undefeated team ever in the NFL.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
Miami Dolphins, baby.
The 72 Dolphins, baby. That's an easy one. When we come back, though, where was I? We'll dive a little into the sports recap, the Minerals Minute as usual, and I'll interview our surprise special guests. Stay with us. before we dive into this, just the housekeeping notes as usual. Don't forget to download, subscribe, share wherever you watch or listen to our podcast. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Not a Golf Pod. Let's go into some sports. I'll make the recap really quick. I'm really going to recap just NCAA football. We can talk professional football if you guys like, but I did nothing, absolutely nothing, on professional football other than following the Pick'ems last week. So my apologies there. But last week, as far as our games and our listeners' games, we had Penn State went to Auburn, handled them 41-12. South Florida came to the Swamp and just didn't make it by 3 points. UF wins 31-28. Miami heads to Texas A&M. They get an ass whooping there, but not really an ass whooping. I hate to say it that way. Texas A&M does scrub them 17-9, and then NCA&T head to Duke, and Duke does handle whoever NCA&T high school is. And then we move to this week. Duke finally takes one in the jaw, but they do it in Kansas. They did do it in good fashion. They did have the lead there. I didn't check on it later, but I know they had a good lead there. That takes them to 3-1. Kansas goes to 4-0. Middle Tennessee goes to Miami. I didn't finish the score on that game. What do you have there, Chef, on the Middle Tennessee Miami game?
What do I have? I'm working. You've been off all day, and we're supposed to prep for this show.
You can tell me if Miami won.
I can't. I'm logged into all of this technology stuff. I'm wired to the wall. I can't move. I know nothing.
I will say you don't want to know, I don't think, Chef.
Oh, no.
All right.
We'll say that much. Someone took a turd today.
That would be the Gators, who fell to Tennessee.
Couldn't happen to a nicer team.
All three teams today took a dump.
Yeah, all three of our teams took a dump today. That moves Tennessee to 4-0 as well. Florida to 2-2. Central Michigan headed to Penn State, and of course that was a no-brainer. Now Penn State 4-0. Central Michigan 1-3 right now. No top 10 upsets this week, but that is a long football season before the playoffs. Speaking of playoffs, gentlemen, I want to ask you a question. It's a little too early to be talking about football playoffs, but I want to know, what are your thoughts on extending playoffs, especially as it regards to NCAA football? And well, I'll just start it there. Bill, what do you think about the current playoff situation? I know a lot of people want a bigger or a bigger playoff bracket for college football, but then you have some that are concerned about the safety and the number of games and what that would do to regular season games. What are your thoughts on it?
I'm a proponent of extending the playoffs, because the way I look at it, and we touched on it earlier, most of these guys, or a good bit of them, are going to go on and play in the NFL, play in the Canadian Football League, other different football leagues. You know, they got the USFL, XFLs coming out, and they're playing multiple games. They're playing year-round. They're practicing year-round. Safety is one of those things where guys are going to get hurt regardless of what you do. It's a violent sport. Like, you can play 6 games. A lot of people going to get hurt. Doesn't matter. Like, there's nothing you can do to stop it. So I'm a proponent of extending it because they're going to be playing a lot more games here in the future anyway. Might as well get them used to it. So I say keep it at 12, up the number of teams. You don't, like, they have that long break in between the regular season ending and like the national championship, you could play 2-3 games in there. You don't need that break. Like, just keep them going.
So, are you suggesting a because right now we're at a 14 playoff. Are you suggesting a
At least
16 or a
8.
16?
At least 8, if
Eight's
not
fair.
12 to 16. At least 8.
Yeah, I think eight's fair. Um, Donnie B, your thoughts on what you just heard? What do you think on the extension of playoffs, college football playoffs?
Well, if you look back on history for the last few years since they went to the playoffs, if you don't make the playoffs, most of the kids opt out because they want to get hurt in bowl games. So that took away the meaning of what the bowl games, represent. So
Good point.
I would say that they're better off with a playoff system that has at least 14 teams in it, have a quarterfinal, quarterfinal, have a home and like have your seeds or whatever, maybe have a bye for your top 4 and let the 5 through 14 play it out, that and then like I said, your top 4 seeds would have a bye. But I just think it would create a lot of interest and people will want to finish out the year because of course we know who the best team is right now, the 3 top teams. I have an idea what the 4 top teams are now by watching it for the last 4 weeks, but I think it would create some excitement for because really and truly, if you don't make the playoffs, these kids, a lot of them opt out for bowl games. There's no incentive, right? So
Right. Yeah,
I think it brings some excitement back to the opportunity they have. Because wouldn't that be awesome if a 5 was upset by a 14 seed, and it just would be very interesting at the end instead of playing a bowl game when there's 2,000 people watching it.
Yeah, and at the end of football season, there's only 4 relevant teams.
Yeah.
And it's the
And
only
more
4
money.
anybody talks about.
And more money. I'm surprised they haven't
curious
done
to
it.
know what it's done for the ratings for the bowl games with, the players opting out and the interest kind of falling because all the 14 playoff is overshadowing everything else. And it's just 4 teams that are doing it. It's 4 teams that are, that are overshadowing some great games out there. I mean, you look historically, although you may not know who's playing in the Echo Weed Eater Bowl, but there's a good chance you turn it on. It's a damn good bowl game between 2 schools that aren't maybe your elite top 20 or top whatever, but are still grinding out good football. Chef Will, what do you think about extending playoffs, making playoffs for the NCAA longer? And guys, before you answer, Chef, it's not necessarily just NCAA football. That's just one of the things that I thought to be. So what do you think about the NCAA or anything else that might need a longer playoff?
Well, I don't know a lot about college football. I only follow it just a little bit, watching a couple of my favorite teams. But my view basically is more football all the time, all year, more games, more better. Let's do it.
Amen, Chef.
Amen.
All year?
All year.
Like,
It's not at college level, but it's in the pros. It's a job. Play all year. Come on. I cook all year.
well, they had a chef. They had a very very interesting league. It was the Hooters League about 5 or 6 years ago. You'd have enjoyed that one.
Why didn't anybody call me?
Chef Will would have catered it.
Catered it for free.
For free.
I was just thinking
For
that in
no
my head.
cost. Buttons, do you have an opinion on college football playoffs?
Do you think
G
I
and
have an
lasagna?
opinion? I don't know nothing that much about that. No, I do not have an opinion.
I
agree
interject
with
on
Chef Will.
Button's behalf.
What do
She'll,
you think?
Yeah, I think all playoffs should be longer. Like in every sport. Playoffs are where the most excitement, the money maker, like Playoffs should be longer in every sport.
Here's a good one. What about the Major League Baseball playoffs?
People actually watch baseball.
Donnie B,
baseball play October.
Donnie B, you're the baseball guru here. What the baseball?
Sorry, Donnie B.
series, the series system there. What do you think about that? Could that be modified, extended, made better to make it more interesting across the board? They already play, 382 games a year.
Yeah, it's
They can play with their shirts off.
162 games a year, but plus the playoffs. So you probably play another, 15, 16, 17 games, maybe more than that. I don't know. But, well, this is the thing. It can get watered down, though, right? So, if a team is 50 and 96, they shouldn't be in the playoffs.
Oh, agreed.
So, I think it should be you should have a minimum amount of wins in order to be in the playoffs. Does that make sense? Because it can get watered down. Like, as Bill will know, like the Yankees and the Mets this year are dominating, and there's actually better teams in the American League than there are probably total more wins in the American League than there's the National League, but you got to bring teams in there. So you're going to have teams there that are subpar 500 in the playoffs. So what do you do? How do you manage that? I don't know.
See, I think if you cut down the regular season games, if you were to take it to 140 games or 100, even like 120 games, you wouldn't have teams that would have as many losses. It might be a little more balanced, and then even still, you could base the playoffs off. I mean, you could have your division records, your division winners, who they're always above 500, and then from there you could just take the better teams that are above 500. I mean, our division, the White Sox. I mean, the second and third place teams are both below 500, so neither one of them deserves to be in. But a division like the Yankees, where Toronto's doing good, Baltimore's doing good, like those teams should be in. Like, and once again, if they played less games, they would have a few less losses. And I think the playoffs would be more exciting. I mean, NBA, they play a bunch. They got 7-game series. Bunch of teams make hockey 7-game series. Bunch of teams make it. Baseball, fucking 4 teams, basically. Like, I don't get why baseball has basically got 4 teams from each side in the playoffs.
Yeah, they play 4 out of 7 though. I mean, it's not like
Basketball plays 7 games.
Yeah,
hockey 7 games. I mean, it's the least physically demanding sport out of all of them. Like, it's the easiest sport to play. Minus hitting the baseball. That's an extremely hard thing to do. But as far as physical endurance, like, there's no reason they can't play more 7-game playoff series and cut down the regular season. Like, you don't need 162 games to decide who's the best team in baseball. You could do it in 120.
So not have a National League and American League. Just have your teams and the ones that finish at the top do the playoffs.
Sure, why not?
I'd be fine with that. I mean, you can still have a National and American League, but the best teams, yeah.
So how many major league teams are there?
You do have division 30?
32.
32.
32 major. I know that's how many NFL teams there are. And so it's the same for Major League Baseball. So why wouldn't you just seed?
There's
the
4.
16.
There's 4 divisions.
No matter their record, no matter their winning percentage, you seed the top 16 or seed the top 8. Whatever.
There's 3 divisions.
3 divisions. Yeah. So that might not be right.
Huh.
Well, it sounds like baseball needs to reorganize and do it like the National Football League.
That would make a lot of sense. But you
Well,
do have two divisions though, and you're bracketing each
yep.
division, and then you're even sub,
But you're still narrowing it down.
and then you would have to sub segregate each, the American League and National League to the American and they might do that. I don't watch baseball a lick. So
Well,
is there American League South, American League North?
Jay, the bottom line is this: when you start adding these teams to it, it gets watered down. That's why they haven't done it yet, because I'm like Bill. I think we ought to go to 8 teams. Okay, go 8 teams, but not any more than that in baseball. That'll be 18 playoff.
That would take forever.
So you have no, it doesn't. You could do
well, you could knock
your
it down
first
to
series. Your first
knock it down
series
to a
is a
5-game
3
series,
out of 5. It's not a 4 out of 7. It's not. But
right.
you have your pitchers. You have to look at. They look at all these analytics like pitch count, your wear and tear on your body, all that. So Bill's right. Cut the season down. Go to 141 games or whatever. Cut out 20 games, and boom, go from there to, cut that down, and then you have a better playoff system. But it can get really watered down when you got teams that are 500 playing, for the, trying to get to the World Series. They have not earned it with the regular season. Would you agree with that, Bill?
The Mineral. We have the Mineral with us. Can he hear?
Did he lose? Do we lose him?
He might be a little. That's okay. I do kind of want to move in. I'm really excited about the guest that we'll be interviewing coming up. It's going to be a huge surprise. All of you guys are really going to be impressed. I'm looking forward to it. So I do want to run into a quick break. When we come back, of course, we'll reveal who our special guest is. We'll pick their brain just a bit. We have the Minerals Minute. We have Pick'ems. Be right after this short break, folks.
Water. We take it for granted, but by 2013, 36 states will have water shortages. We can't increase our water supply, but we can change the way we use it. And it all starts at home. 25% of your daily water is flushed down the toilet, and the solution is simple. We should conserve that water, and instead, pee in the shower. And if you don't have to shower, you can always pee in the sink. Think about it. Brought to you by Save Water America.
Folks, welcome back to the episode 10 of the Not a Golf podcast. Guys, 10 episodes now. This is going well. I really didn't think of where we'd be at 10 episodes, and I'm not going to say that we've gotten much further than episode 1, but I like what we're doing. It has the feel that I expected it to have. It's getting better. Our flow is getting better. But I do want to welcome in our special surprise guest for this show. Again, Buttons didn't know who this was. The Mineral didn't know who this was. Donnie B didn't know who this guest was. However, our Chef Will regret it. He knew who it was. Our special guest is Chef Will.
It's just an honor to have been nominated. I can't even believe I'm here. Where's my trophy?
I was gonna tell everybody to calm down, hold the applause back until after I finished the intro. But it is our the head chef, Caddy's Whiskey Tavern, dog loving, more than just our friend. He is part of the Not a Golf podcast family, even though he is not a golfer whatsoever, has nothing to do with the golf business. I'm sorry, the reason I chose Chef Will as the guest this week is we don't know much about where Chef came from. Like what built Chef? What made Chef who he is today? So I thought it was really important to highlight our beloved chef on this episode, on our 10th episode, and interview and find out who our chef is. So, ladies,
I'm sorry, Mr. Smith, if I overjumped the introduction. I'm used to being in the back room in the kitchen. I'm not, I'm a wallpaper person. I blend in with the wallpaper. And now you've asked me to come to the forefront and be interviewed. And I'm honored, very, very deeply honored.
I want this to be a very open mic style interview since you are part of our
I've
family.
never met a mic that was closed.
And the and having to really structure a show and kind of get the best out of a guest. I think the best interactions with Chef are when we all interact with him. So I do have some questions, but as we go, Donnie B, Bill, when you come back, Bill's not with us right now, but he'll be jumping back in. And Buttons, if you'd like to interject with any questions, please feel free. It's more of an open conversation. So I will start. I usually start with the golf question. How did you find golf? That doesn't really apply to our chef. So I'm going to ask Chef to kind of.
Oh, I can answer that.
Okay, how'd you find golf?
I found golf many, many years ago. I was taking a hiatus from the White House, and I came to a sleepy little town in North Florida called Live Oak and met and worked with your father. What a wonderful man. Horrible sport, but it's a wonderful man. I don't understand. The idea is to hit the ball the fewest times possible.
Correct.
Why would you ever hit it once? You're already losing.
Good point. You do have to actually play the game to win the game. So
you can't win if you're losing.
You can't win if you're losing, but at least your points are your points that you don't want are compared to the points and or what we call strokes of your opponent. So anyhow, I'm going to skip right over this. I want you to paint for us a
I didn't bring my brushes and pastels.
Well, we want you to paint it with your words, the how, what, when, where, and who of a young William Regret-It growing up.
Oh. You want to go that far back?
Yeah.
I mean, do we need to talk about dinosaurs, or can I talk about my high school years?
I want to know if you went to school with the guy who invented bread.
No. I actually was ahead of him, and then Betty White came along, and she was the best thing since sliced bread. Oh my, a little Will. Please never call me a little Willie. I don't like the connotation. But I learned, I didn't even learn to cook. I was already cooking before I learned. Family lore says that when I was a tiny little chef wannabe in a high chair, I was sitting there in my grandmother's kitchen, and she poured me a bowl of cereal, and I put my hand over it to see if it was hot, like she did when she was testing a cast iron frying pan before she put in hoe cake or Johnny bread or anything that you people might relate to. And so that's where it started. I was cooking my cereal before I even knew how to turn on the stove. That evolved into following my sainted mother, my doubly sainted grandmother, and my great grandfather, who probably should have been Pope if he was Catholic because of their culinary prowess. From then, I went to school, of course, like high school and all of that. And then I was blessed to be able to travel to France, Italy, the Orient, India, the Mideast and work in some of the greatest culinary establishments, some of the royal houses, with the finest chefs. And that's where I took my tutelage.
Okay. And that kind of leads me with all this travel and everywhere you've been and who's built the chef wheel we know. What or who has been some of your biggest inspiration?
Oh, well, so I was traveling as a young little chef across the world. Very blessed, of course. You know that. I mean, how can you travel that much and not be truly lucky and blessed? And then I came home, still a young. I didn't know was chefing where I wanted to be. What was I going to do? And I went to this lovely party in DC, and I met Julia Child. Perhaps you've heard of her. Small influence in the CIA, and I became enraptured. She was a darling, and she said to me, "Chef," well, I wasn't chef then, of course. She said to me, "Will, the spy ring, it's not your gig. I can tell from what you did the other night when we were together, above board. We were not, it was in the kitchen." She said, "What I can see in you, I know." And I said, "Well, Julia, I can teach you a thing or three." So the two of us traveled back to France. She left the CIA. I taught her how to cut an onion in France. And I digress. She was not Julia Child at that time. She hadn't met Paul yet, but they met in France. They had a lovely dalliance and lived together the rest of their lives until Mr. Child passed away, unfortunately. And the two of them and I remained great friends all those years. So from then I moved on to other jobs, menial tasks, as a chef do. You get a job at a small little place like 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue on your connections, knowing Julia, and you go with that. If cooking is truly your calling and it's truly in your blood, that's all you can do. You can't knit, you can't spy, you can't do international relations, although there is a little bit of that with food, but you cook and you cook and you cook.
So you mentioned 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Did I? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to number drop.
We do know that you number drop, state drop. We do know that you served directly for the president. How long did you serve there at the White House in total?
Oh, you see, I can't actually answer that question directly. You can ask me specifics about who I might have served, but I can't tell you day one to the last day because
I was kind of looking just for a collective number of years.
I can't say.
4 years.
I can name administrations. I can't say years.
You can name the administrations that you worked for, but you can't tell us how many years you put in.
Yes, because I've heard things, I've seen things. The stuff that they're talking about Trump at Mar-a-Lago, I have been in rooms with more stuff than they are claiming to take from Trump's Southern White House retirement home.
I
got a question,
Go
Chef.
ahead, Donnie B.
Yes, sir, please.
Since you said to interact a little bit, let me ask you this. So I was thinking about, actually, I had like not really I mean, I can cook, but I can't really cook. When you cook, do you have to have an imagination, or do you have like, this is my favorites and you kind of lock in on them? Or do you explore?
Yes. It
Wow.
depends on who your client is. If I'm cooking for myself at home or my family, which means my mother and my aunt, because I don't have children, thank God. But if I'm cooking for them, I explore. If I'm cooking for, say, JFK, I know what did I just name drop? If I'm cooking for him and Marilyn, I know what they want. They want breakfast in bed while Jackie is not home. If I'm cooking for the Queen, who I was just there at her funeral last week.
Yes, we did.
She loved my American fare. She loved nothing more than a big, greasy, juicy hamburger. She, of course, had to strip down some of the diamonds and the jewels that are part of the crown jewelry. But we went back into the residence, into the private places where the cameras weren't. And chef, this is amazing.
And then
you have to know your audience.
Okay. One other question. So when you're cooking, do you sing or do you play music?
Also, yes. Sometimes I sing. It annoys my staff, but if I'm in that vibe and I'm creating and we're just, come on, let's make this Soul Meunier the best Soul Meunier that's ever been made in America, I need to vocalize. But if it's just an average day and we're just putting out, Salisbury steak and liver and onions or whatever at Caddy's, I often put on music. And if my staff is being, my staff is wonderful, of course. But if for some reason they're being just a little bit agita, I put on Sade or Michael Bublé or some other Dean Martin. It brings the volume down. Everyone calms down, goes to their station, and does what they need to do.
Give me a sample. Come on.
Oh, I don't sing on camera.
Come on, you can do it.
Well, why not, chef?
Come on.
We have given you the front and center stage. The lights are on you.
Well, the lights are on me, and that's why I'm not singing. I mean, you've got Stinky next to you, Mr. Smith. I'm not going to embarrass myself before him.
Do a little Bean. Do a little Bean. Do a little New York, New York.
Bing. No, Bing. That's Christmas.
Do it. Come on. I'm spreading the news. Come on. I'm living each day. Come on. Come on, let's do it.
When the marimba starts to play, dance with me, make me sway. When the marimba hits you hard, say it loud, make me sway. I know that was Dean Martin, not what you were asking for, but it came to mind.
Give him a hand clap. Good job, buddy. Good job.
Chef Will, a little deeper than just the chef that we know.
There's more to me than food and wine and whiskey and beer.
He's like an onion.
He's like an onion.
Yes. Yes. Peel me away and I'll make you cry.
How super glad am I that Chef is the first, by the way, the first person to sing on the Not a Golf podcast.
Oh, then I definitely deserve a trophy.
You definitely deserve a trophy.
Well, if I knew you got a trophy, I would have sung a while ago.
And you held the notes, and that was
first to be first.
That was impressive, folks. We are gonna keep moving along, I do want to let you know the mineral is having kind of some issues. He's cutting in and out. But we're going to kind of keep an eye on that. So if we go into emergency break, if I cut anybody off, it's so that we can figure out what's going on with the mineral. We cannot do the minerals minute without the mineral. So we'll try to keep an eye on him. I'm thinking as long as he's communicating, he's fine. When he talks, he seems to be staying there, but it seems to want to kick him out. So anyhow, let's move on with Chef. Chef,
Yes.
you have served numerous presidents of the United States. You must have met a lot of special people, and I don't necessarily mean the ones that were inspirations to you, but who are some of the special people you've met through serving POTUS?
I didn't serve POTUS. I served POTUS.
POTUSes. But you had to have met other world leaders, celebrities.
Oh my goodness!
And they were, and you were introduced to them by the president of the United States. Like, I mean, that's one thing to meet someone famous. It's one thing to meet a celebrity. But when you're introduced to somebody by the president, that has to be pretty special, Chef.
Yes, but you're kind of wrong. I was introduced to many amazing people, but it wasn't because the president wanted me to be introduced. It was because they asked. Whom was the one that provided this delicious meal? And then the president, red-faced, had to get some Secret Service guy or gal, come on, it's 2022, to go get me out of the kitchen and bring me in. There were some exceptions to that, like when I met Marilyn in JFK's private quarters, and other times when the first ladies were not there and the president wanted chocolate pudding, like with Reagan, and he was chatting with a prime minister or whatever. But honestly, I've met many. And as you know, I've already mentioned, I was at Her Majesty's funeral last week, and her husband, the late Duke of Edinburgh, were two of my favorites. Meeting His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I was not at the time working at the White House, but because I am really good at vegetarian cooking, they asked me back under the Obama administration to cook for His Holiness. That was an amazing thing. But other than that, and huge for me as a Catholic, I got to meet Pope John Paul II a couple of times. I was there when Elvis knocked on the White House door unannounced. He just showed up. I want to see Nixon. And what do you do when Elvis knocks on the door? You let him in. I don't know what the Secret Service felt about that, but it was a thing. Pele, the soccer great. I was there when he visited Ford. Please hold.
Did Chef say please hold?
I have to refresh.
You have to in a double tanker there.
I was there when the Man in Black. Does anyone know who the Man in Black is?
Yes,
Johnny
sir.
Cash.
There you go. Yes, he visited the Carter administration, Michael Jackson under Reagan. another beautiful, wonderful royal experience was when the late Princess Diana and now King Charles III visited. Oh, uh, so many, and heads of state, Prime Minister Kishi of Japan, every Prime Minister of Israel, from Ben Gurion to Bibi Netanyahu, UK Prime Ministers, too many to note, President de Gaulle of France, Haile Selassie of Egypt. I mean, come on. And the music. Oh, the music. Sinatra, Etta, Bono. Everyone came to the White House, and we just fed them and fed them and fed them. And I, under a couple of administrations, snuck them wine when we had a quote unquote dry White House. It's only happened 2 or 3 times in the 250 plus years of America, but it happens, and I've been there for a couple of them. So, you know, I always had a flask or a bottle or a something. And I mean, especially when Queen Elizabeth, Her Majesty, came, she liked a certain cocktail, and I always had it ready, iced, chilled,
Of course,
to serve to her.
Of course you did. Well, Chef, I did have one golf question to ask you. You'd mentioned working with my father at Greenleaf.
Wonderful man, wonderful man.
Have you worked at any other clubs or golf courses that our listeners may or may not have heard of, been to, or around their area? If so, what courses or clubs?
Well, I have, and I'm a traditionalist. As you can see, those of you who are watching the recording, I like a white chef coat. But I worked at one place that required a green jacket, and that was odd for me. I'd never seen anyone cook in green.
Wait, they wanted the chef's coat to be green?
Yes. Apparently, everyone that's a winner there has to wear green. And so I wore that proudly and slightly begrudgingly for 4 years. I also worked a couple of tournaments, the President's Cup. I did one for the LGPA tournament that was sponsored by KitchenAid. Lovely, lovely women. I highly endorse all products by KitchenAid, and they should be a sponsor of the Not a Golf podcast. And other than that, I did have one small romantic dalliance at a local club with a beautiful, beautiful barmaid. She took me by moonlight on a golf cart ride around the, what do you people call those? The Americans call them lakes. You people call them like splash hazards or something.
Water.
And yes, that. And she took me around, and it was a beautiful moonlit night. And I'm not going to confirm or deny if she wasn't my 4th ex-wife, but that's pretty much my golf course tenure in a nutshell.
Pretty special. And the shout out to KitchenAid, not currently a sponsor of the Not a Golf podcast. Of course, that would really only benefit maybe Chef, maybe Buttons in the situation. I think I would be more of like
I love KitchenAid.
Yeah, I'll take a sponsorship from someone like Boar's Head. Like, that would be cool. What do you think, Donnie B? Just like, can we get a sandwich meat sponsor a free sandwich a day.
Hey, at this point, we get anybody that's got a sandwich or meat or whatever, right? Anybody.
I'll take
How about it?
Right. Y'all need rations. Y'all are in the cone of death.
Oscar Mayer or whatever, right?
Chef.
How about nettle? How about
Bologna.
nettle sausage?
Oh, nettle sausage. And if you know what a nettle sausage is, you are from a particular part, very small part of this country. And if you know what a nettle sausage is, you are privileged. There is no such thing as white privilege, but there is such thing as nettles privilege. And that's
Chef, one more question.
Yes, sir.
What is your favorite meal that you cook?
To cook or to eat?
To prepare.
To prepare.
Favorite meal. The most that you're most confident of, that you can put it out 100% always be.
I think my question is he cooking for himself or is he cooking for someone else to showcase himself?
Okay, let me say this.
Showcase himself, or is he making a meal that he loves?
Okay, I've got an anniversary coming up, right? So let's just do it like this. I want to have a spread for me and my bride on my anniversary, and I want your very best. Give it to me.
Well, I can answer this, obviously. I've been married 5 times so far, divorced 4.
You know?
I would say I would start with a crudité, small. Don't go crazy, because everyone knows you put out 57 celery sticks and people eat 2. So don't go crazy, but a little bit of a, oh baby, I put this out, champagne or whatever her wine of choice is. Then I presume she works.
Yeah.
She's a nurse, I believe, right?
Okay.
Travel nurse.
So she comes home to the crudité. Then you say, baby, go take a shower, pamper yourself, do what the ladies do. When she comes back, you have whatever her signature cocktail is, a martini, a Cosmo, Long Island iced tea, whatever. You have that there.
Wine.
Okay, wine. Yes, fine. Without whiskey and beer?
Without
what is she even drinking? But anyway, I digress. Then next, you have a tapas plate, maybe a perfectly seared scallop with a little bit of cilantro, rice wine, vinaigrette over top. And you say, baby, I want you to have these 2 perfectly seared scallops. In the meantime, you're back in the kitchen. You've already had something, maybe a pork butt marinated and cooked for 12 or 14 hours. Not fancy, but we're not going for fancy. We're going for good. So she's had the little tapas. Then you bring out a little bit of a cheese board and you say, baby, let's go sit out on the back porch, maybe with the grandchildren about you. And of course, they're not eating or drinking any of this, but you have a good red wine, a good white wine, whatever she likes. You sit there, you gaze across your acreage and you say, you know, honey, I am so lucky that you picked me and I picked you, and I'm not Chef Will, who's on his 5th wife, has 4 divorces, no kids, and a lot of alimony. And then you come back in and you take out this perfectly roasted beef or pork, whichever you prefer. Slice it gently if it's beef, shred it if it's pork. You make her this beautiful open-faced sandwich and you say, honey, I could have taken you to the greatest restaurant in the greater Live Oak area, but I chose to make you this beautiful open-faced sandwich of perfectly cooked 12-hour braised pork. It's got cilantro and garlic and all of this cumin and all of the seasonings. And I'm giving that to you. And then you bring in just the perfect amount of jalapeno slaw, and then just a perfect amount of cold, fresh green salad with her favorite dressing on it. And then this is the most important part from my turn of events. You go over to the sideboard. Now she's got the food and the cocktail and the wine, and you put her at the table, and then you go over and you put on quote unquote bedroom music. Michael Bublé, Dean Martin, Sade, something like that. So you've set the mood. And then she's eating and she's full and she's loving it and she's freshly cleaned because she got the shower that you gave her to go get that minute before dinner. And if that meal and that music isn't walking you back down the bedroom hallway, you've done something wrong. And that is your recommendation.
You forgot about
from Chef Will.
Donnie B, to answer your question, a sandwich. It could be beef or pork. That was the answer.
And that would be the reason you don't walk down the hallway to the bedroom.
How about cheese grits?
Ooh.
If you add shrimp, you might still get down the bedroom hallway.
Cheese grits. Jeff?
Shrimp
And cheese grits.
Shrimp and grits. Oh.
Yes.
If you don't make another child, you're doing something wrong.
That was our lovely, beloved chef. And I have to say, you stole the whole show. That right there, that was a walkthrough. No one has told a story on this show that well. That was spectacular, chef. I know you're going to hang around for...
That's not true. Your other golf guests are way better.
You're gonna. That was solid. That was pretty good, and we learned a lot from you there, and we realized you're very passionate, not just about the food that you cook, but about the moment you're creating. You just described. Donnie's question was what do I present to my wife on an anniversary as far as food, and the only answer you provided was a beef or pork sandwich with whichever she prefers, but the moment that you described was more than just the food, and
I believe there was lead-in food described as well.
There was a cheese platter, plate, cheese tray, cheese something. I did hear the jalapeno slaw, which sounded actually pretty good. I might have to investigate jalapeno slaw.
Nope. No.
Have you had it?
Nothing but no jalapenos. No jalapenos. No.
No jalapenos. No. He just said that.
No.
He just said no jalapenos in Spanish.
Jalapenos.
Completely.
Hell no.
He just said a completely
Hell no.
Spanish sentence.
Hell no.
So, Chef, we do want you to stick around. We do have some, of course, some pick'ems to come through, and we're actually going to give you the opportunity to either play as yourself or as the guest. Actually, as a matter of fact, what we're going to do is you're going to play as both yourself, and we will take whatever yours is and go into the guest spot as well. We will make sure that we'll make sure that Will, in the tie, Will does get the top spot, and the listener or the guest gets the second spot. However, if you win pick'ems, we will give the win to both you and the guest spot, if that makes sense to everyone. So let me roll into pick'ems without a break. If you're okay with that, is everybody okay with pick'ems without a break? Let's do it. Last show. This is kind of special. I don't think we've had anyone up until this point actually get every pick right. And on our last pick'ems, Bill the Mineral went completely 4-0 on his picks. He won every one of his picks in pick'ems. Very impressive, Bill. Buttons still hanging in around the top. She came in second. Myself, third place. Fourth place would be Chef Will. Donnie B came in fifth place. And our guest, Jeff Danner, who absolutely shit the bed on pick'ems, did not get a single one of the picks, believe it or not. We're sorry, Jeff, that didn't happen. But again, we do appreciate you coming on, and I love you to death. But your pick'ems, you did go ahead and put the guest in last place on that one. So the Mineral takes a win. Mineral takes a win. Here I am, still without one.
Good job, Mineral.
Yeah, he did it in good fashion too. And he needed those games because it was pretty much you. No, I think it was Buttons that was giving him the run for it. And we all know that if she takes another one, that puts her leaps and bounds above everybody else. And probably to the point it would be hard for even me to catch her, because I think that would give her 4 wins, if I'm correct, fellas. Am I right? So we have some new pick'ems, gentlemen and lady. I'm sorry, as submitted by the Mineral himself. These were good. I like these. They were kind of quick. None of us really had time to do kind of a bunch of research. When it comes to the college games, those are kind of, I want to say easy, but maybe not so much. Then the pro games, kind of hard there, just because I don't follow a whole lot of a pro other than just to watch football for the sake of football. But let me go ahead and start. The first game we have is Alabama in Arkansas. Mineral, what do you think as our winner from last pick'ems? You get to go first. Alabama at Arkansas.
I'm assuming you asked me. I'm
Yes.
gonna go. It cut out there for a second. I'm gonna go Alabama.
All right, Mineral going Alabama. Buttons, Alabama, Arkansas.
Alabama.
Should be easy. I'm going to go Alabama. Chef Will.
Bama roll tide.
Roll Tide. Donnie B.
Would like to go against you guys. I think that Arkansas has got a gauntlet of a schedule, which is not fair. I wish they had like an open date before they played Alabama, because I think Arkansas is really good. But I think Alabama's going to come in there.
Arkansas is really good.
So you're Alabama locked in?
Yep.
All right, across the board there, guys. Next game would be Clemson at NC State. Let's go backwards this time. Donnie B.
I want Clemson. They look really good today. That quarterback stepped up.
Chef Will.
Clemson.
Jay's going Clemson. Buttons.
That's Clemson.
Clemson as well. Mineral.
You know what? I'm gonna go against. I'm gonna say NC State pulls an upset.
Ooh,
Wake Forest almost did it to them today.
Hey,
Wake Forest pushed them to the limit today.
Good job. Good job going against the grain there. He's going with the upset NC State at home. Let's move into a professional game. Kansas City and at Tampa Bay, reliving a Super Bowl hash out. I'll start in the middle. Actually me. I think I've got to go. God. I think I'm going KC in that game. Let me move to my left buttons. KC, Tampa Bay.
KC.
Kansas City. Chef Will, Kansas City, Tampa Bay.
Mahomes is my homie. I'm taking the Chiefs.
Taking the Kansas City Chiefs. Mineral.
I'm gonna go Bucks because I hate the Chiefs. I want them to lose.
There we go. Setting a different trend. DB.
I want the Bucks to win, but I know they got Mike Evans out, they got Godwin out, and everybody knows what's wide receiver. But you know what? I'm going with Brady Magic. I'm staying with the Bucks.
Their D is solid.
I wrote TB. I wrote TB. You take it how you will. It can mean Tampa Bay or it can mean Tom Brady.
Either
for
way.
the sake of pick'ems, it's going to be Tampa Bay though. Let me go reverse that order. Donnie B, Miami at Cincinnati.
Miami's on a roll, but I think Cincinnati's going to get their first win.
Cincinnati's getting their first win at home?
Yep.
Bill.
Well, Cincinnati may already have their first win. They may win this weekend. So they may be 1-2 going into that game. Yeah, I'm going to go Cincy as well.
Cincy.
Sorry, Chef.
Chef Will, should we even ask you?
You don't have to ask.
All right.
I don't even have to ask.
Miami.
Threw that one in there for you.
All right, you got buttons on you there too. I'm going to go Miami as well.
Solid bet.
Yeah, we need to this me buttons and Chef need to really focus on this tiebreaker here because we are the same across the board. Now the tiebreaker is going to be total punts in the Kentucky at Ole Miss game. The total punts in the game for both teams. Let's go back to original order. The mineral.
9.
Ooh. Strong defenses you're thinking, huh? Someone's coming with a strong defense with 9 points. Okay, buttons.
I don't know. I'm going to go 7.
Still strong defense with 7 punts. There's at least one strong defense there. Jay is gonna go. I'm gonna play kind of a big time offense on both sides of the ball there. I think Ole Miss is definitely gonna punt more times. So I'm looking at 4 punts in that game. 3 of them, and this is not part of the tiebreaker, but 3 of them. Ole Miss punts 3 times. UK punts once. Chef Will, total amount of punts. Kentucky at Ole Miss.
This is hard. I had originally looked at this lineup and said 12, and then scratched it out. And then I put down 9, and then the mineral said 9, and I scratched that out. And now Buttons is at 7, and you're at 4. Decisions. And we don't have a break for me to refill my hashtag wine, whiskey, and beer to think about it.
Yeah,
I'm going to split the difference and go with 8.
8, split difference at 8. And DB, 7, 8, and 9 are gone.
6.
I like the play there. I like everybody feels confident in somebody's defense. I'm assuming everybody is pretty confident in Kentucky's defense. I would assume. Am I right by saying Kentucky's defense is going to play?
Yeah.
Well? And most of these punts that each of you had said are Ole Miss punting the ball.
Yep.
Fair assessment.
Yeah, I was thinking a 3 or a 5 and 4 type of deal.
Donnie B, how many punts were in the Gator game today? There was only 2 punts all in the whole game, right?
I don't even know. It was so no defense. I know that about 1,000 yards in offense. I think that Florida punted once. I don't even think Tennessee punted.
He never did. Folks, let's go into a quick break. When we come back, we have the Minerals Minute. And then, of course, we have Donnie B's Motivational Minute that will close us out. Stay right where you are. Folks, welcome back. Let's keep the show rolling. This is our segment we like to call the Minerals. This is the moment where we give Bill the Minerals Inc. 60 seconds to go off on whatever it is that's bugging him, bothering him, and then we have the opportunity to make him feel better about it, argue with him, whatever it takes. But, however, Bill, do you have something lined up for your minute? I assume. He's still having troubles. Bill, you there with us?
This is the best part of the podcast of all time. I love the Minerals Minute.
I know, and for your
I think I'm back. I don't know how long though.
Well, we got you now. Let's hope we have you for 60 seconds. If not, we'll start over and do that all over again.
And then,
I'll stop it at that point. If it doesn't work, then I'll just go back to that. So anyhow, the Mineral, take it away.
all right, so tonight's is a little bit of a thinker. Hopefully I can get it all in before it cuts out. I was wondering about animal language. Like babies, when they're born, it takes them a while to learn. Humans have to teach it. But you always hear like baby birds, they're always like chirping all crazy. They got no song, no rhythm, no nothing. And then all of a sudden they can like, when they grow up, they're like songbirds. But like, how do they learn? Like it just.
Damn.
I think we can go off of that.
Donnie B,
right.
I'll let you start this off.
Yeah, so
Oh, hold on.
yeah, it just baffles me like how animals like learn language. Like, and it just made me wonder, like, do you think there'll ever be a time when we can decipher what animals kind of say? And I don't know. So there you go. A minute. They got broken up a little bit, but
Yeah, I think we got the most of that. Donnie B, if you want to go ahead and say what you were going to say, and we'll see if we were alone.
So check this out, Bill. I like, no joke, my dogs, my labs, like I can talk to them just like you and I are talking, and they understand what I'm saying. And I can read their mannerisms to know what they want to do. So, because I mean, they've been with me for 10 years, so you get to know that. I think eventually you kind of understand what they're wanting by their by their actions, but I don't know if you can understand like a dog when he barks, if he's trying to tell you he needs to go outside. Does that make sense?
I was also just wondering more about like wild animals too. Not so like I know dogs can understand some English words and they do know like outside and things like that. But I was wondering more like wild animals. Like when a bird's born, like it doesn't sound and have the same, and like even like wild cats, just any animal that has makes a noise, like it doesn't sound like its parent. Like they don't make the same noises as their adult version of that animal. So how do they learn to communicate with other birds of their same kind?
Chef, I'm interested.
Like it fascinates me like how birds.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm interested in what you think about the communication of wildlife and the language that they understand. How do they?
And do you think we'll ever
hereditary or
understand it?
Is it taught or is it hereditary? I guess is the real question.
Excuse me. I think it's innate in animals, whatever they are, human, bird, giraffe, llama. They communicate with their own kind. Obviously, humans have developed a highly specialized vernacular and vocabulary that is also recently been cheapened and stupid by naming new words that don't mean anything, like cisgendered or whatever. But as far as the animals, I think when baby bird is born, baby bird imprints on mama bird, and there is a chirp, a cluck, a tweet, a something between them, and that conveys how you're going to communicate with the rest of the birds the rest of your life. I could be wrong, highly unlikely, but I could be wrong.
Scientific answer coming from the chef. Chef can sing. He's a scientist. He's a chef. What does this cat not do?
I have a diverse past, my friends.
Does Chef think that they'll ever figure out how animals like what chirp means food, what chirp means danger, what roar from a lion means this? What do you think that anyone's even working on that, or that they will ever figure that out? I mean, people work on dumb shit all the time. Someone's gotta be working on that.
Well, I don't want to comment on dumb shit, but I will say I do believe that the marine scientist people, you know, those people that have nothing better to do than swim all day. Please, if I could swim all day, I'd call it retirement. But they get to swim around with whales and dolphins and report back what their sonic or whatever they call that sounds they make, and there's communication. And so one whale goes, ooh, and then another whale goes, oh, and they go quickly and meet and mate. So maybe there is some communication. I don't know. I do think, honestly, animals communicate. I don't know if it's cross species. I don't know if we're ever gonna find a dolphin talking to Mr. Smith,
I don't think there's
or
a dolphin dictionary.
Here's
no.
one for you. Here's one for you, Donnie B. So, we do kind of, the marine biologists do kind of possess the technology to decipher between kind of what a mating call versus an aggressive sound.
How is that different than humans?
I'm not saying that it is, but that we also possess the technology in our phones to decipher the different ways that we say to, or the different ways that we say your, or the different ways that we say there.
Lies. My phone
some-
doesn't know those words. They get them wrong every time I go to voice text.
But we're getting there. But what mine does every now and then. If I say that, I like that too, like it will give me that extra O. Okay, or if I say I have two of these, it does put the TWO in there. Now it does get confused with there a little more often. However, that's not the point. So if the two technologies exist, is there a time where you could have an app on your phone that you take it into wildlife and you listen to a bird, and then Siri tells you what that bird just said?
Anybody even looked for the app? Because they probably already have one.
Good point. We're putting that on button. She's got to look for the wildlife train. Maybe it's Google Translate. Maybe we can find Eastern blue heron, or
I still want my phone to know when I say there, and spell it right.
Let me tell you, this is not animal to animal communicating, but like the other day,
that's all this show is just animal to animal communicating.
It's like 3:30
and Mrs. Buttons.
It's like 3:30 and the labs eat at like 4:30. And I said, Jersey came into my office and was like, hey man, it's time to eat. I said, no, you're gonna wait an hour. You're gonna wait till 4:30. Go back and lay down and come back in an hour. Damn if he didn't come back in an hour and I had to feed him. I'm telling you, man.
Hey,
swear to God.
30, motherfucker.
I'm telling you, I swear to God, I'm telling you the truth, man. It's crazy.
I would like to think, Mineral, that a lot of it, the communication and what is necessary to communicate through in wildlife, like, they first of all, they've eliminated the bullshit in their conversation that we have put in ours. So it's basically, I'm hungry, I need help. There's a very limited vocabulary, and I think a lot of it would be hereditary, and then the rest of it would just kind of be from those developing weeks or whatever of being under the mother. I'm more interested in your inquiry about when can we easily communicate with that. So when can we decipher between, because again, the language is not complicated that wildlife has to share. Again, there can only be, it's not like they're talking about, what the other bird down, 2 trees did. They're not gossiping. They're simply just saying, I'm hungry, I need help, where's my mate?
Danger. Yeah.
So when do we possess the technology where we can go into wildlife and take a picture of a rock, a plant, any kind of animal, and there's an app that will tell us exactly what that species is, or that mineral, or whatever, no pun intended, or what it is. When do we have it where we can hit the record button?
Google earbuds already, like if someone speaks Korean and they come up to me, Google Buds can instantly translate Korean in my ear to English. Now, how great is the trend? It may be, like you said, the twos and theirs and things may be a little off, but for the most part, you can straight translate instantaneously a different language into your ear. So, man, we can't be that far off from understanding what what something's trying to say to me. Like, it'd be so much nicer if Thunder could just be like, "Hey, I don't want this bullshit food. Like, I don't know."
Yeah. As are they just content with it, or hey, I really love.
Does he hate his life?
Kind.
Like, what's going on here?
Well, he looks you in the eye and he doesn't rip your throat out. So he has an expression and a tamed spirit.
You're right. And the reason he doesn't do that is because he loves me more than anything in this world. Me and Buttons, of course.
No, he loves Buttons. He's looking at with a questionable spirit every night.
Is he on camera? Can anybody see him or no? Is he just off?
He's off in the corner. Him is my buddy.
He's ready. He's about ready for bed. Folks, we're probably all about ready for bed. I know the East Coast is getting there. So we're going to wrap this show up, folks. Before we close this out with Donnie's motivational minute, don't forget to download, subscribe, share where you find, watch or listen to your podcast. And then, of course, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Not a Golf Pod. Folks, we thank you for joining us. I thank you for your time, Buttons. I thank you for your time, Donnie B, The Mineral, Chef Will. Thank you for your time. Folks, we leave you with Donnie B's motivational minute.
All right. So I was thinking about this other day. I was thinking about just life. I was like, just kind of had like a chill moment, was out by the pool, just kind of chilling. And I thought about life. And I was thinking like the L in life. It's like, we need to use that L, live life to the fullest. We need to explore. We need to, we only got one life. You know what I mean? We need to get the most out of it. And then the I in life, we need to invest, because there's time. We need to invest our time and make sure we make the most of every opportunity that we have. And then F is like, we need to fantasize a little bit. Buttons, you ever fantasize? You ever just fantasize?
All the time.
Yeah. Like, what would be something you fantasize over, like you do?
We don't want to know.
Yeah, we do.
I do.
You're next. You're next, Chef.
You're next. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know know what you're trying. What do you want to know?
Like a fantasy. What's a fantasy? That's like some you like. We talk about UFOs. Like, would you like to them to come pick you up and take you for a ride sometime? You know what I mean? What's your fantasy? Like,
that would definitely be interesting.
I guess what's not a dream? Sorry, we're ruining the Donnie B's motivational moment.
all right, Chef. What about you? Your fantasy?
My fantasy has already been realized. Being present at Her Majesty's funeral.
Well done. And then the E in life, be an example. Be an example to others. Make others see you as like, wow, I want to be like that person, or I want to carry myself that way. Be something that's an example to others.
I exude that every day.
That is life.
That's a wrap.